I just watched a bunch of squirrels. They're like battling it out here. Like, I don't know if they're friends or lovers or something, but it's kind of weird. All right, so we're going to get into the where you are now. This is the second step of our intentional living. This portion of the outline is so important because it recognizes where you are in the present. So I want you to think of this as the visuals of this type of list is you're building a house and you have a whole bunch of resources and materials, and then you also have a plot of land that needs to be cleared out. That's got some things that are getting in the way. And that's what this list is. It's analyzing where are we right now. So let's get right into it, shall we? So the first half is the where you are now are your resources. So we're going to go over what things you have currently, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's important to note, only start with the positives. Don't talk about the potential things. Don't talk about if I applied myself, I could have. No. We're going to be truthful. Only the stuff that you know that you do. Okay? Talk about where you are physically. Where are you in the world? Where are you living? What is your living situation? Write that down. Financially, what are your streams of income? What are your savings, your investments? All those things. Your family. Now, don't just start listing things off. There is a criterion to be part of your resources family list. You feel me? There's criterion. You can't just write down everybody you're related to. Here's the criteria. Only write down family members where there's like a give and take balance. You support them, they support you. Encourage you to become the best version of yourself, not their version of who you wish you were. They value you as a person, and they don't just see you as somebody who does stuff for them. They value your unique you-ness. You don't feel like you have to be on. And what I mean by this, some people who are more charismatic than me have the problem where they feel like they have to be on all the time. Like they have to be the fun one, the cool one. You're not allowed to be grumpy. So if people only like you when you're like that and they don't let you have any of the room for anything else, they shouldn't really be on this list. People where you don't always have to be the strong one. Because there's some people where there's no grace. You can't be weak. You can't have a moment of weakness where you mess up. You always have to be the strong one. And this is probably one of the most important things. People who show you kindness. And by that, I mean they speak the truth in love. They are honest with you, but in a loving way. They're not like brutal. They're not cutting. They're not, because you can be truthful while also really just destroying somebody, and that's not the people who are going to be assets to you and your growth at all. So only write down family members who are like that. Friends have a similar criterion to family. They have to match all of those things. Now, you may realize that this list is a lot shorter than you thought. Maybe you're fortunate to have a really supportive family, and maybe you have the least supportive family ever, and nobody gives a crap about you. But the reason it's important to recognize this is you want to see who should be included in your life. What relationships should you really foster? Should you take care of? Should you nurture? And we're trying to find those people in your life. And if that list ends up being very few, that's okay. You just are going to have to meet more people. But that's what this is about. So friends and family meet those criteria. Now, here's a little extra I wanted to add in here I didn't originally think of, but potential friends. And what I mean by that is in this moment in place in time in history, for you have people who could show friendship qualities to some extent, but you haven't been through enough things with them to really know if they're like gonna or in it to win it, who will stick by you. But you do see a lot of these potential for these qualities to grow. So those are people who I would encourage you to continue to pursue those relationships and those friendships, so that way you could see where things come and how things may turn out, right? Another thing you're going to want to include is your education and your experience. That'll give you an idea of what opportunities may soon be open up to you. And lastly, do not underestimate this, but your strengths and weaknesses. Put down the things that you are really good at. Your strengths as a person, as a friend, as a family member, as an employee, as an employer, things that you are really good at. Okay, so we just went into the positive list. That is the fun part of this experience. Now we're going to go into the hard part, which are the obstacles. And being truthful with yourself can honestly sometimes be the hardest thing that you ever do. Whoa, my hair is going crazy. I'm like, physically, we're going to talk about, where are you in the world? Is this the place? Is this environment conducive to growth? Does the current location you have the opportunities that you need? And sometimes your location can be both a blessing and a curse, because maybe you can't afford to not live at home right now, but you really need to save the money because that's going to help you grow in another area of life. Like, where you live can be both a blessing and a curse. You just have to have the discernment as to when is a good time to relocate for your new dreams and have the courage to make those changes. But right now, ask yourself, is the place I'm living inhibiting or helping me grow in the areas I need to grow? Financially, we're going to adjust where you are. Do you have debt? Is your credit bad? What are your savings like? Do you not make enough money for your current needs? Where are you financially? And this is being truthful with yourself, because your finances do not define you. It does not matter how much money you make. It doesn't define your worth. However, it's a resource that you need in order to grow in any real capacity. So be truthful with where that is. Where are you now in terms of your weaknesses? What are things that you suck at? Things you're not good at? Just things that are not your strength. Write all those things down as well. Family and friends. Now, we're doing this again with family and friends. But we're going to talk about the people who, this is the hardest part probably about this whole list, honestly. But we're going to talk about the people who are going to be inhibiting your growth. And oftentimes these individuals may be the people who you love the most. So let's get into these character qualities of people who are the inhibitors. People who pressure you to meet their personal standards versus you becoming the best version of yourself. People who you feel like you have to be on, like you have to be the life of the party. You have to exhibit certain qualities or else you aren't on the invite list anymore. Like, they show like a really conditional version of love. Like, they might like you, but they don't really love you. People who pressure you into unhealthy lifestyle choices, whether physically, whether emotionally, whether financially. They encourage you to have a look that you can't afford or otherwise you're not cool. These people, this one's probably the biggest one, but people who feel entitled to your time, money, energy, and attention based off of being in a familial relationship with you. I gave you life into this world and you need to give me $100 because of the longevity of the friendship. I was friends with you since high school, man, and now you want to go out with your new girlfriend? Because they've supported you in some capacity in your past, they act like they are entitled to you. Man, I let you sleep on my couch for 2 months while you're trying to get your feet up, and now you're trying to tell me you can't hang with me? We're getting real here. Like, people use those manipulative tactics. I know I'm sounding mean, but this is the reality. Some of those people who you may consider that you love the most may be inhibiting your growth, because the truth of it is that if you give that $100 to your mom when you're the one trying to get out of debt, you're not in a place to help anybody because you're trying to support yourself. And if you're trying to engage in a new relationship and your girlfriend's your new highest priority, your friendships change, the dynamics change. So trying to use these manipulative tactics to try to change your behavior into you becoming who they want you to be sometimes those are the people who you most painfully have to put on your list. And while I don't recommend you cut people out of your life, like, that's not what I'm saying here, you're going to have to put in really firm boundaries. So, what have we accomplished with this? The list. This is where you're starting. And everybody starts somewhere. And where you're starting, this isn't like a right or wrong thing. You're not a better or worse person because of it. You're just being truthful. And in order for you to make the next step, which is healing, you have to really address where you are now. Because this is intentional living. Whoa. Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. See you in my next video. Bye.